So, I mean, I just have to ask Russell Quirk. Very good morning to you, Russell.
Good morning. It's like you're naked without it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the first day we didn't have it, because when it wasn't working, but it was still there, I quite liked it.
What happened? Did it just stop illuminating?
Fused or something, I don't know. Yeah, we don't know.
It's because of the atmosphere.
But they've got to take it away and fix it. It's one of those. So, anyway. Meanwhile, we've also fixed the clock, you might have noticed behind me. The international clock, the blue clock, is now working. So for those of you who have been confused about what time it is, according to this, it's 1 minute past 7. So there you go. It's actually a little bit fast. 1 minute and 35 seconds past 7.
Isn't it great to know, Mike, that people are actually relying on your show to know what time it is in the world?
It is.
Right? So it used to be Big Ben, of course, but
did
now
used to
it's
be Big Ben.
Mike's clock.
But, you know, Big Ben's never been as reliable since they stopped making it chimes. Remember when they put it out of commission for a while, while they were refurbing it?
Did it offend a few Londoners' sensitive ears? Is that what it was?
I think, no, they had to clean it. And so as a result of cleaning it, they couldn't, because of
get the
health
chime
and
back.
safety, they couldn't have the guys up there cleaning it and it go wrong, and they'd all sort of, reverberate and get their ears blown out. So they had to stop.
So wokeism has even got to Big Ben.
Do you know where there is a clock though which chimes, which I hear quite often now because I go there quite a lot? Selfridges. Selfridges have got a clock.
What, inside?
No, outside.
Oh, outside.
So on the main entrance of Selfridges on Oxford Street, if you're walking past at either the top of the hour or quarter past or half past or quarter to,
chimes.
It actually chimes.
Oh, I wonder how accurate it is.
It's great. And there's always loads of Japanese tourists out there taking pictures of it. As it goes. Anyway, listen, this morning, all the papers, of course, have got something about Donald Trump on the front. Iran war is pretty much over, says Trump on the front page of the Daily Mail. Trump war is near the end, says The Sun. Iran has nothing left and the war is nearly over, says The Times. And then you've got the I newspaper, which says the Trump-Starmer phone call was particularly unfriendly, much more so. Now, I'm happy to say, in some ways, that Russell's brought some different papers in today. He brought The Guardian in,
I know, sorry.
which we don't normally have.
It was on the floor outside a shop and some people were treading all over it.
They've got Reeves warns of cost of living rises, war in Iran hikes energy prices. Rachel Reeves yesterday in the House of Commons made absolutely no sense at all.
No.
Came out and said, we understand that people are struggling to pay their heating oil bills. Oh, really, you think? Because they've gone up by double.
Can I just say, though, I don't want people thinking that I buy The Guardian every day.
No.
I picked up a clutch of papers on the way in, some of which have been duplicated. That's just to be very,
very
very
clear. No, but you've given me the opportunity to do something I haven't done in ages, right?
Which is what?
Which is to rip up The Guardian, right? Because I used to do this, right, as a general kind of, to hell with them type scenario. And so I think we might as well do it some more.
Well, you're not going to offend anyone, because, of course, the only people that actually buy The Guardian are people in the public sector.
Yeah, exactly. And the BBC. Do you know, if it wasn't the BBC, they'd have no circulation at all.
Yeah.
There we go. The Guardian.
I look forward to clearing it up.
Thanks for bringing it in.
That's right, pleasure.
I'll clean it up, don't worry, Pooch. I will clean it up.
Same again next week.
I'm not one of those people that leaves, although I used to do it at all when I tore it up, and people would go, who's going to pick it up? I said, well, I'm not picking it up, you pick it up. There's thousands of you. But we've also got the Daily Express, freeze duty call as fuel to hit £2 a litre. It nearly hit £2 a litre before, didn't it? Back in the days when was it when Russia invaded Ukraine or something?
Yeah, it did. It spiked, didn't it? But this is, I think we talked about this last week actually in brief, insofar as the fact that obviously oil prices have spiked because of the Iranian crisis and so on.
Yeah.
But the petrol forecourts immediately put the cost of a litre of fuel up, even though the stuff that was in the tank obviously predated the war itself. It'd be very interesting because, of course, now that Trump, as I'm sure we'll talk about, has made his speech as he has to say that the war is over.
Yeah.
It's complete. It's almost like a game to him, isn't it? Right, completed that one. Let's move on to the next one. I don't know what the next one is, by the way.
Right.
France, maybe.
But he says they've got no ships. We've got a couple of good clips of Trump, actually. Should we do a couple of those, Pooch? The first one, where he talks about the ships, is actually really good. Where are we? I think it's number 6. Yeah. Have a look.
We're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. Iran's drone and missile capability is being utterly demolished. The Navy is gone. It's all lying at the bottom of the ocean. 46 ships. Can you believe it? In fact, I got a little upset with our people. I said, what quality of ship? Excellent, sir. Top of the line. I said, why did we just capture the ship? We could have used it. Why did we sink them? They said, it's more fun to sink them. I said, that's it. They like sinking them better. They say it's safer to sink them. I guess it's probably true. But think of it, we knocked out 46, it actually took 3.5 days. Their terrorist leaders are gone. We're counting down the minutes until they will be gone. Think of it, we had leaders and they're gone. Then we had new leaders and they're gone. And now nobody has any idea who the people are that are going to be the head of the country, and will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated.
You've got to love that, haven't you?
Well, but here's the thing, you know what we should have done? If there's 46 Iranian ships at the bottom of the sea, I mean, he's thinking about, hang on, dredge them back up and send them for scrap, because he's the epitome of a businessman. But you know what we should have done is given it to our Navy, because we've got no bloody ships at all.
We haven't got any.
So we might as well have had, we could have just rebadged.
We've got loads of ships, but they're all in the dry dock, being fixed up.
But we could have rebadged the Iranians as British ships.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It turns out we're not now sending any ships at all, right? So
not
the
even an
decision
aircraft
was
carrier.
taken late yesterday that the aircraft carrier HMS, what's it called?
Prince Andrew? Oh, no,
not HMS Dragon. I think is a frigate, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
As a destroyer, but they were going to say. I think it's the Prince of Wales, maybe.
Yeah.
The aircraft carrier that was going to go. They're now not sending the aircraft carrier because the French have decided to basically go and patrol the Straits of Hormuz.
Yes.
And they're going to take care of everything.
Yes, we've got the French
we're being rescued
defending-
by the French Navy now.
Yeah, I mean, the irony of that. So, yes, we've got the French defending us and also the Greeks, of course. I mean, once upon a time, we used to have quite the Navy.
We
didn't
did.
I mean, what would Nelson be
Oh, do
saying
you know
right
that
now?
song, Rule Britannia?
Yeah.
There's a line in it that says, Britain rules
Rules
the
the
waves.
waves, not anymore.
No, we can't even get out Portsmouth.
Yeah. No, we rule the maintenance
We don't even rule
dockyards.
the Solent,
No,
to be honest.
Solent.
You know, where are we? Well, there's a Solent over there.
The Serpentine.
Can you get to the Isle of Wight? No, I'm afraid not. No, we haven't got enough petrol.
Yeah.
It's too expensive.
What a colossal embarrassment we are.
It really is.
Yeah.
But also, how useless is John Healey? You know, when he got in first as a Defence Secretary, people were saying, oh, he's a very, very safe pair of hands, very sensible man. You know, he's the sort of the acceptable face of the Labour government. And he may, in fact, end up being the caretaker kind of
PM when he goes.
Prime Minister, because when Starmer goes, instead of getting a nutter like Angela Rayner or Ed Miliband, you give it to Healey. But he's proved himself to be completely useless, actually worse than useless.
But not just useless when it comes to the execution of his job, but also useless when it comes to the media rounds. I mean, he's not been very impressive at all.
Not at all, no.
Actually, when he was the housing minister, so back in the previous Labour government, he was the worst housing minister.
Was that
the
under
country's
Blair?
Under Blair,
Right.
Brown,
Right.
2009-10.
Okay.
He built the fewest houses that this country has built ever.
Really?
Yeah. So terrible housing secretary, terrible defence secretary.
Yeah, funny. Everyone called Healey's not very good. Remember Dennis Healey? He wasn't very good either.
Cap in hand to the IMF.
Absolutely useless.
Some of us old enough
Completely
to remember.
hopeless. A couple of other stories to mention. We've got Lammy big in the news today because he's on the front page of the Telegraph. There's a vote, I think, in Parliament today on the jury trial situation.
Yeah.
And there's meant to be a big revolt. As many as 65 Labour MPs, they think, might actually vote against his plan to do away with jury trials. He's warning the MPs on the backbenches not to vote against him because there's going to be terrible repercussions if they do. I don't know why this man is even still in government.
There's another irony there, isn't there? The fact that we're talking about people being able to vote for something which takes away the right of someone to have a proper jury defence. I mean, this is, I know this has been well rehearsed, but this is one of the cornerstones of what this country is supposed to be all about, isn't it? You know, the whole kind of right to a trial by jury, and the fact that Lammy and his cronies are going to take it away from us. I mean, it's literally that creeping Orwellian communistic thing, isn't it? So, you know, we censor all of our opponents, we stop social media, we put everybody that we don't like in prison, we start doorstepping journalists and so on. And literally the whole Orwell novel, 1984, is playing out in front of our very eyes. And the final nail, I guess, is you can't even go and expect to be defended properly in a jury trial because they won't exist. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. How can anyone, excuse me, how can anyone possibly vote for the erosion of justice?
I know. It's incredible. Although, bizarrely, apparently it turns out that you've got more chance of actually being convicted by a jury than you have of being convicted by a magistrate or a judge, which happens to be just one of those statistics which literally means
I suppose
nothing.
it depends on the crime, but do we really trust the liberal judiciary?
No.
You know, those that let people like Hugh Edwards off the hook.
Yes.
And at the same time, you know, you get situations where, you know, you get someone tries to stab someone that gets kind of, you know, 6 weeks community service, and the people that rail against him, you know, being a provocateur or, you know, being an asylum seeker, as some of them might be, they're the ones that then go and get 3 years in prison, not the assailant. I mean, that's where our judiciary is. So do we have any faith in our judiciary carrying out you know, proper decisions when it comes to jury non-jury trials in the future? No, we don't. We should be very concerned indeed.
Also, you have to be very careful. I mean, we get keep being told relentlessly, you know, whenever there's a conversation about should we bring back capital punishment or should we have Home Secretaries intervene in judicial cases where the sentence hasn't been serious enough, and everybody goes, oh, no, you can't have politicians interfering in the judicial process, you know, that's all got to be left to the judges. Well, hang on a minute, but what's David Lammy doing then?
Well, and also tell Lucy Connolly that. You know, some of that I and you, I'm sure, have interviewed, where it's now become increasingly evident, very evident indeed, that Lord Hermer and Keir Starmer intervened in that process to make sure that she was seen, A, as an example, and B, therefore, as a political prisoner. The fact that her case was fast-tracked, she was forced or coerced, shall we say, to plead guilty and so on.
No
so
question.
don't ever tell us as a public that the politicians, when it suits them, don't get involved in the
This
justice and
particular
legal
government
trials.
absolutely does.
They do.
And also, I was listening to a show last night in which I was being told by somebody sort of as an inside source in the Labour Party who said that there were Labour Party lawyers who wanted to brief various backbench MPs on the law and to tell them exactly where they could make their decisions based upon, you know, what the law said about juries and about, you know, judicial matters. And they were blocked from doing it.
Yeah.
So the government didn't want the information to be given to backbench MPs so they could make up
so
their
they
own
were properly
minds.
armed with the facts.
So that they could have any actual legal facts at their disposal. Oh no, you don't want to do that. You know, I mean, this is the trouble with this government. They're trying so hard to make it difficult for anybody to access any information.
And they're closing people down. It's tyranny. Lammy's also in the news, though, of course, because Lammy is the one. I mean, get this. Let me just outline something that's already get you going and get your heckles up. Ian Huntley, who fortunately died the last few days.
Yes, how sad.
He is obviously going to have a funeral, which apparently is going to be paid
Why does he
for.
have to have a funeral?
Well, I think just put him in a skip.
Yeah. Why would you bother having a funeral
Just stick
for
him in the back of a van and just dump him somewhere. But no, apparently the prison service rules say that if a prisoner dies in custody, they should be afforded not just a funeral, but a memorial service at a cost to the taxpayer of up to, wait for it, £3,000. The only person that can decide that is an inappropriate and can overrule that is, unfortunately, David Lammy. So what do you think he's going to do?
He's going to say it's a good idea.
He's probably going to go to the memorial service.
Yeah, probably,
He'll be there in the crowd.
Oh, my God. What an absolute disgrace.
£3,000.
That's ridiculous.
I know, of course it is.
Totally and utterly mad. But this is the trouble. When you leave with these people in charge of anything, they make a complete rick of it. Complete nonsense.
But also, there's the political game, Mike, isn't there? That you would imagine there's an advisor somewhere in Downing Street saying to Keir Starmer or David Lammy, and this might sound inappropriate, but I'm afraid this is the way that politics often works, which is to say you could actually score a real big PR point here, Minister, by stopping that process and not allowing that £3,000 to be spent on Ian Huntley's memorial service. It would be a PR coup. But they've got such a lack of political judgment and compass. I suspect that won't happen.
No.
And it should happen for all the right reasons. We should not be celebrating and funding Ian Huntley's funeral. But David Lammy, I just don't think he's got the political nous
But they've
to
got
understand
the
right
because
thing.
you know why? Because the government is riddled with bleeding lawyers, right? I was watching Michael Gove last night on GB News. He was one of the shows, and he was talking about why it would be that, for example, the IIGC has never been prescribed as a terrorist organisation. And he said, quite frankly, it's all everything to do with the Foreign Office lawyers. Because Foreign Office lawyers will be going by the letter of the law, which says that if you are attached to a state, i.e. you are a weapon of the state, as the IRGC is in Iran, you can't be prescribed as a terrorist organisation.
Even if they're acting like terrorists.
Even though you are a terrorist organisation, because you're run by the state.
But do these people
and the law says you can't do... What?
But these people do understand that as legislators, as members of Parliament and the government, they actually are empowered to change the law.
Exactly.
I mean, I know we just talked about that in terms of jury trials, which is the wrong thing to do. But actually, if there's something that stands in the way of doing the right thing, they can actually change the law to make it the right thing.
No, exactly. But also, making laws is very different from administrating them, if you know what I mean. So to change the jury system is a completely different thing than actually making a law which will crack down on something which you previously couldn't crack down on because there was no law to do it. That's the point, right? And speaking of which, how about this? The front page of the Times and the Telegraph, Steve Reid yesterday got up in Parliament and announced that we are going to now have some kind of investigation into hostility against Muslims, right? So offices, schools, councils, every organisation in Britain is now going to be asked to look out for hostility towards Muslims, right? Anti-Muslim hostility is defined as intentionally engaging in assisting or encouraging criminal acts, including acts of violence, vandalism, harassment or intimidation, whether physical, verbal, written or electronically communicated, that are directed at Muslims because of their religion or at those who are perceived to be Muslim. And you just go, hang on a minute, what exactly where are you going with this, right? And broadcasters are also included.
Well, we know where they're going with it, which is a definition of Islamophobia, which will be to curtail freedom of speech.
Yeah.
This is pandering yet again to the Muslim vote, because, of course, at the moment, I mean, the Labour Party for many, many years have pandered to the Muslim vote because it's a block vote that obviously helps them in many, many areas of the country get elected. But they're now absolutely crapping themselves as a consequence of Gorton and Denton, because they know that a big chunk of that Muslim vote, of course, is going to the Greens, which is why a load of Labour MPs apparently are in talks, as Zach Palensky overnight has admitted, to defect
to Labour.
From Labour
to the Greens.
So this
how stupid do you have to be to do that?
But this is pandering. This is absolute pandering. But I don't remember Steve Reed, Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves or Yvette Cooper talking about looking out for hostility from Muslim extremists. And, you know, we've seen a few instances over the last 15 or 20 years, haven't we, of Muslim and Islamophobic extremism unleashing itself.
There's a reason why some people are hostile towards certain Muslim groups, because, you know, they keep trying to bomb us and blow us up.
Because I'm afraid, yes, the majority of terror attacks do come from Muslim extremists, and I use the word extremists purposely, because obviously it's not all Muslims. But yeah, we seem to not think about that, not talk about that. I mean, surely we should be looking out more for signs of extremism. You know, the future Axel Rudabakanas of this world, right? But no one ever goes out as a politician
like
on the
studying
left.
terrorist manuals online, that sort of thing.
Well, and having, rice in recipes under his bed. That's a bit of a clue.
It is a bit of a clue.
I would have thought.
Yeah, how about this from Steve Reed? It is critical that we now carry out the work to ensure that the definition is disseminated widely through local governments, schools, universities, the NHS, broadcasters as well, right? So that it can have the biggest impact possible in protecting Muslims from abuse and discrimination.
So when they say broadcasters, I mean, that means that you or I could leave this room at the end of a show and be arrested because of what we've just said. Because we've now just said, well, hang on, I think Muslim extremism might be a bit of an issue. You can't say that, apparently.
Exactly. And this is how it starts to get bleeding ridiculous.
This is the Orwellian creep.
It sets out examples of expression that would be protected, such as criticising a religion, including Islam, or its practices, ridiculing or insulting a religion or belief. So you can't make a joke about it now, right? You can't make fun of somebody wearing a burqa because that might be illegal. That's ridiculous, right?
I know.
Portraying it in a manner that some of its adherents might find disrespectful or scandalous. Again, back to the person who wants to be offended. You know, I don't like what you said about me, therefore I'm going to call the police. I mean, ridiculous, right? Raising concerns in the public interest and contributing to debates. I mean, of course, the Tories actually at least are standing up against this, and as I'm sure Reform will as well. And free speech advocates say this is ridiculous, you know, because it's this whole Islamophobia, blasphemy law through the back door. You know, this is a free country, should be. We should be able to say what we like. I'm sorry if you don't like me making fun of your religion, but I reserve the right to make fun of every religion.
But for years we've made fun of the Catholic religion and what priests have been up to over the decades.
People make fun of people who believe that there's a man in the sky that rules everything.
We've taken the piss out of various, you know, archbishops of Canterbury and the Dalai Lama. I mean, it's all fine, isn't it?
I would have thought so.
That's a fundamental tenet of freedom of speech.
Exactly.
You have the right to your religion. I have the right to take the piss out of it.
Exactly, and I don't see why that should be changed, and I certainly don't see why it should be changed.
But it's a one-way street, isn't it? Because they're not talking about this being, you know, if you happen to be some kind of, not extreme, but some exaggerated Christian
Seventh-day Adventist.
Or
Mormon.
Like
I mean, people make fun of the Mormons, you know, all the time.
But that wouldn't be a hate crime.
Presumably not.
No.
I don't know. It makes no sense, does it?
Two-tier nonsense.
Absolutely ridiculous. Let's go back to John Healey, because he was